Number 4, mushroom management. What do you know about some mushroom management, Pat?
Well, it's funny you say that. I'm actually trying to start a truffle farm right now. So I hear that.
God.
That's what I'm thinking about. But
all aboard!
Outdoor service owners, rise and shine. It's time to start fueling your success, one adventure at a time. In this episode, we're going to explore 5 common mistakes service owners can make earlier in their career and what we would do differently today. By understanding these pitfalls, we hope you can navigate your journey more strategically and increase your chances of success. Welcome back to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur, brought to you by House Call Pro, where service owners come to explore ways to level up and take charge. We are your hosts. I'm Kevin Fontaine, and this is my home slice, Patrick Harders. Join us on this journey every Wednesday. Like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube channel, and listen wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on our social media platform at Outdoorsy Boss. Pat, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I was just talking about to my team about spring coming up, and I love it. I saw the first daffodils coming up, first signs of spring, and I know season's here. We made it through the cold months, and spring's my favorite time of season anyway, with all the blooms and all the trees coming in. Lighting looks its best. Landscaping looks its best. It's my favorite time.
Spring has sprung, or it's getting ready to.
It is. Screw pumpkin spice lattes.
Yeah, I'm done with that. Yeah. Starbucks. Or, God, that's everywhere, though.
Yeah.
Those seasonal things.
Spice, all fall and winter. And then
have you had any snow much this year?
We had a cold front come through, and we had about 10 days of, not a lot, 3 to 5 inches of snow back to back, but it was a pretty warm winter overall.
Nice. Yeah, here too. It's pretty mild.
So we're talking today about the 5 mistakes most business owners make when they're just getting started. And, hopefully we can help a little bit to avoid some of these common pitfalls that we all get into, because, there's some of them that have repercussions that last for years. They're kind of universal.
That's right. Yeah, these are 5 that we chose. I mean, there's 50, if not 5,000 mistakes we've made earlier in our careers. Me and Pat have both been in business for 20 plus years. I will tell you, some of the ways I talk about my landscaping business and outdoor lighting, it may seem past tense of the things I used to do. And that's only because I went to an all subcontract mode about 3 years ago. So just give you some background there. But everything, I still run businesses. Pat still has awesome businesses. And his platform is mainly employee driven, and mine is subcontractor driven. So that kind of gives you that context of how we talk through our topics.
It's a good mix of different models to accomplish the same goal.
Yeah.
And I think I possess a great talent that a lot of the mistakes I made early on, I was able to duplicate them, make them on later, and then make them again. So, being bullheaded and, making the same mistake over and over again for some reason, I think I have to get it pounded in my head and feel the pain all over again to remind myself.
So the spaghetti didn't stick the first time?
Yeah, it didn't stick. So I just kept going at it, going, well, maybe if I try it again the same way, I'll get to have a different result, which never happens.
All right. So, number 1, not being able to adapt or change.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I don't care what level you're at in business. It's always about adaptation and change. Your processes, your systems, your offerings to your customer, how you're doing, everything in your business. You have to just be open to looking at how the business is being run and what's changing, because you might have something that's working great one year, and you're going to make that what separates you from all your competitors, and 2 years later, it no longer works. So you have to be very agile and adapt to make those changes. Yeah,
and especially when you're trying to grow and expand your business, it's even harder to change if you didn't already put in a process or a development beforehand. Earlier in our business, when we're small, we have a few employees, we're working out in the field, etc. It's easy to overcome obstacles then, but as you grow and add employees and structure and all that stuff, it can bite you in the butt if you don't
Real
have a
easy.
great plan.
Yeah, really easy. It's a whole different skill set. You go from being the craftsman that can do something and do everything on your own, from sales to marketing to the actual installation or design,
Yeah.
to the next level is like, how are you going to have other people that can do that at the same level and not just run yourself into the ground? Because, ultimately you are your own bottleneck in your business. I'll say
Exactly.
every business owner, we are the bottlenecks.
Yeah, definitely. So we're the gatekeepers, and some changes that can and will happen in your business is, what a customers actually want and need. That can change.
Yeah.
Customers may want a higher end service. They don't want just lawn mowing or just for you to power wash their driveway. They want someone to also do maintenance activities afterwards, or they may want the gutters cleaned or a service inspection. A lot of these estates have so much grounds, and they got pools, pavilions, outdoor patios, barbecues. They're like small homeowner developments, and they need some eyes on the ground, not for just mowing the grass, but tell them about safety concerns, a leaning tree, get a tree trimmer out there if you're not doing that. Great add-on opportunities can develop if you're proactive and looking every time you're at a job site, or have your employees do that.
Yeah. And the hard thing is gaining that trust from the customer. And if you've had work done at your house, you know how bad the average contractor is, like showing up, communicating, doing everything they're supposed to do, finishing the jobs. And if you've garnered that trust and you're the guy or girl and whatever you're doing,
right?
Once you have that trust, then there's so many other opportunities and suggestions you could make.
For sure.
We do it all the time in lighting, just going like, hey, this tree needs to be trimmed up. We need an arborist out here to prune it. And having those resources to bring people in to do things like that. But you got to get that trust. And once you have it, that's such a valuable asset to have, is, you've earned something that's very special.
Right on. And so as we talk about change, it's not easy to instill that in your employees, your staff. They may be more apt to buck that system that you're trying to implement. So change is not necessarily always easy. So a big helper for that is to let them know why you are bringing this change into your organization and what benefits these changes are for them and the customers, et cetera.
Yeah. We just went through that this week in my company, because I was meeting with a coach myself, just going through like, why do I struggle at something? And I'm always looking to improve, but it was like bringing my team into the issues and the problems. So, change for change's sake, nobody likes.
Right.
But to say like, this is the issue and this is where the direction, and then bringing a conversation in. Because a lot of times, I'm just moving and making decisions and doing things and not including my team.
Yeah.
And so that could just kill morale when it does. When you're just making all the calls. And I heard a great discussion where this gentleman's listening to this business owner, and he referred to the company as my company 6 times. And finally an employee's like, if you call it my company one more time, I'm walking out. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, it's our company. Like, we're invested in this. And it's like, that's, I think, going back to the previous message we had on morale and setting, your mission, your purpose, your core values. That's such a key integral part that often gets overlooked.
I remember when we had uniform changes in our program, where we would make them wear long sleeves because it would shield out the sun better. And the majority of people gave us feedback, hey, let's move from T-shirts to a long sleeve uniform. And we didn't tell everybody ahead of time. And we just said, hey, here's all the new uniforms, guys. And we got a lot of kickback from that because we didn't get everybody's opinions and feedback beforehand. We just picked the supervisors to give us the feedback and not the actual field staff. Yeah.
And then you get the people, like when you do that, they may comply with you, but then they'll end up working against you, where it's like all of a sudden 2 of them are wearing different shirts, and whatever the issue is, it's like if you don't have buy-in early on, then you're pushing people instead of moving everybody in the same direction. So that leadership skill is so important. It goes so far beyond just our skill set of being a good at maintaining a lawn or whatever skill set we have.
Yeah. So in those cases, break out like say you have 2 or 3 crews, have one crew at a time come into your office, go over that new policy or that new change you're trying to implement, and be more one-on-one with it and not such a big group like everybody. Because when people are in big groups, nobody's going to like have an issue in front of everybody. Usually so the one-on-one time, break it down so you can get a little bit more personal response and feedback before you formally introduce that change.
Yeah. And like you and I, we're small business people. Like the idea of meetings is kind of foreign to us. Like, let's just go do the job. Why we're going to waste time? But I find having that rhythmic, every Monday morning, the whole team gets together, go through the week. Every Friday, we have a meeting. Every Thursday, we'll do just quick little meetings. But then the individual reviews, it's all foreign to us because I didn't grow up doing that. I was just running out there doing our jobs, and the idea of taking time to communicate and go through, you need to do that because not everybody operates as we do as entrepreneurs. We just have different mindsets than our average person
does. And as owners, business owners, I guess people are built differently too, but I don't necessarily need a pat on the back.
No. And
I transferred that energy onto my staff when I was early in life, and a lot of people are candy and they need that. They're snowflake.
Oh, yeah.
They need that pat on the back reassurance a lot more often than I do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's, I'm famous for that, it's taking time to just say thank you and congratulating. And, one of the craziest things is like, I did reviews with all my employees and they were all thanking me for it afterwards. And I'm like, I would personally hate to have to sit down and do a one-on-one and get a review on how I'm doing. Like, I'll just go and do what I'm doing and I'll do it to the best of my ability. I don't really care what you think. Right. So yeah, we have to mold ourselves to the morale and the temperament of our people.
Yeah. And then some other changes may come from technology. That always changes. There's a new iPhone every year. Service software keeps adding new features that makes our lives easier with automations and cool functionality. So be open to that kind of change as well, getting out of paperwork and make more automations to make your life easier. The other thing that is changing, Pat, you've been experiencing this lately, is the advertising methods that we choose to do and pay for. A lot more is going online. There's this new thing, or it's not new, but last year or two, Google Guarantee is a great way a service tradesman can appear in the upper part of those generic searches. Say, hey, I want my gutters cleaned, or I need a new wall built outside. We can come up as a Google guaranteed business with a check mark, and we're at the top of that organic search.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we actually just went through the process, and I think in marketing in general, what works this year may not work. Like back in 2001 through 4, we would send out 10,000 postcards and have 20 customers call in. And by 2005, when 20 other companies are doing it, we did that. We get like 3 phone calls. And so that's part of the adaptation, is to say, like, you need to be monitoring, like, is this still working?
But that's a good way. So create that social media SEO. Yeah. So, posting videos about your trade, what you do, that shows up in organic searches, that organic ability of social media. So YouTube videos about, hey, this is how you do your work, or you're celebrating a new feature that you've added to your service, or just explaining a service, how it's done professionally. That shows up locally, and that's a great way to change with the technology of today.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm ever on Amazon, the first thing I do when I look at a product, I look at the reviews. And if the first one's bad, I move off. Or if there's like 3 reviews on something, and I see it so often in this field that we're not focused on getting reviews from customers. And we've really implemented the idea of not just getting the review, but asking customers to take photos of it, which their photos are never professional, but I don't think anyone cares. So it's like bringing that customer in and saying, like, hey, it really helped me out if you could take a photo of finished work and post it online so other people could see about your experience. And that's huge.
It is. And that's a change. That's even with Amazon. If you go look and buy products, I tend to now start looking at the pictures people post in the review section.
Yep.
And so
Huge.
I think photographs and videos are continually rising to the top of what we want to see as we're searching for service pros, as we're trying to buy a product, a car, planning a vacation. Heck, I'm going to YouTube and checking out these vlogs of people that traveled there ahead of time, you know?
Yeah, and that review is key. I did that. I remember just recently at hotels, and the first one's like construction's going on, it's loud, and I'm like moved on to the next one. So yeah, those are all key things, but it's going to change. And that's the thing, is like you monitor, you're doing something, but you can't plan on this is what I'm going to do for the next 10 years. You have to be open to what's going to change. And you mentioned CRM, so that's a huge change. If
That's
you're
an
going
awesome
from
change,
a single person where everything's in your mind, it all runs through you.
Yep.
So now you're going to have other people doing it. Communication is just key.
Big time. All right. Next, we go to firefighter mentality. Number 2, chasing your tail and not solving any issues.
That's big. So a good friend of mine runs a business, and he actually is a firefighter, hired firefighters. And I would go into the office and they're all reading the newspaper, having a cup of coffee, everyone's relaxed. But then when problems would jump in, they'd go running around and solve the problem. So it's like the firefighter mentality that they had was, when there's a fire, they're all over it. But when there's not, they're relaxing. So they weren't proactively looking to solve something and planning, like, hey, just to make sure this doesn't happen again, let's prevent it. Instead, it was just reactionary on everything they did.
Yeah, and I think early on in our careers, we tend to just go on and step over issues and not solve them because we're so busy. We're working out in the field. There's a lot bigger things we think in our mind, like payroll. I got to make payroll for Friday. My truck broke down. I don't want to mess with a customer had a sales issue problem today.
Yeah.
And we put it off, and it's a certain point where an owner has to stop, press that stop button and say, hey, I'm going to spend time addressing any major issue that keeps reoccurring and is worth putting my time into changing. And that's pressing that stop button. As owners, we need to do that. And you also have to have a time for yourself that's quiet time. Like a little baby. Kevy's in the corner because he's bad. No, it's quiet time for yourself to plan and work on your business, not inside it every day.
Yeah, it is amazing. Like a lot of times when I'll travel, I'll start coming up with some ideas. I'm in the plane by myself. If I don't fall asleep, I'll have a million ideas. If I'm in the car by myself. So then it's like, how do we make that happen? Personally, I think working out, I got that advice early on, is like, do some cardio or something like that to keep your, reset your mind. And it's so easy to just get caught up in customers upset, an employee has an issue, all the things going on that we're not taking a step back and really looking at our business.
Yeah. And, voice memos, writing yourself notes as you're traveling or in the car and you're thinking about something that you wanted to work on. That's a great way to set a reminder. Now, EOS and all these business planning systems, they're big on carving out that time that you need to plan and work on your business and put it on a calendar and devote that time. Now, sure, things will happen one week where you'll miss it and you can't do it. Sure. There's bigger fish to fry week by week, but as time goes on, those are going to be crucial baby steps to get you to build a business that you can that will function without you eventually, because that's our end goal, is to build businesses that are so systematic and tested that I don't have to be there every day. That's.
Well, I think we're all guilty of this. Of the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is reach over and grab that phone. And that could just get you going. Like all of a sudden you get an email from a customer or something going on, and you have no quiet time. I love getting a cup of coffee, sitting on my front porch with my dog, and just kind of coming up with a plan of attack. And, I think one of the keys is, get up early.
Excellent.
So that means going to bed early,
Yep.
I struggle with that. I'm a night owl, so I could stay up till 1 o'clock and wake up at 5 and go on little sleep, but I'm not as efficient. So,
Right.
Operating at full throttle, I need to go to bed early and wake up early and get that half hour of time to kind of look at my day, look at what's going on, see the problems, and actually, step out of the business so that eventually I could be out of it totally.
Yeah. So the biggest thing we want to tell you is plan and recognize those issues. Your employees may tell you about issues, document those, and then little by little work on each one with a plan afterwards to solve that issue. And a good solving platform to use is called an SOP, which is a standard operating procedure. So any reoccurring issue, you can develop an SOP around it, that process procedure that can help avoid that tomorrow if you start implementing it.
Yeah. I see that, one of the big places that we often ignore is the phone, because like when you were just answering all your own phone calls, there wasn't a standard operating procedure for like, what do you do if a customer has a question? And you get the same questions over and over. So like actually having phone scripts and having answers to questions. And then when new ones come up, you're adding that to your SOP.
Yeah.
So
you're solving that particular issue because it happens a lot. Yeah. We're not telling you to make an SOP on everything that happens in your day to day, but the ones that keep occurring that are big, that hit your wallet, make an SOP around it and strategize there.
Or frustrate your employees.
Yeah. Cash flow issues. Number 3, big cash flow. Not saving up for slow months, not charging enough, overspending. Yep. I've never done that. Not. Over budgeting.
Yeah.
You're over budget on a job. You didn't estimate it enough. You didn't charge enough. You didn't calculate all the materials and labor. And not creating a reoccurring revenue for your existing customers. That can create cash flow issues as well.
Yeah. I think best advice I got from someone early on was get in, get out, get paid. And there is so often that we'd have job creep where a customer would keep adding on and we're not doing change orders. We're just like, sure. Well, and all of a sudden we're out there 2-3 more days. We're pushing and then we'd get done with everything. I moved to the next job and I didn't get the payment.
Oh God.
Yeah. So then you're cash flow crunch and everything else happening. So it's like, there's got to be expectations. Like I'm going to do this job. I'm going to get paid on this day. I'm going to take a deposit, do whatever. But, you have to focus on like making sure that you're doing those things. You're getting to the job. You're doing it on time. You're not running 12 jobs at one time that are all mixing up. And then all of a sudden you find out that you're not getting paid on any of them because you haven't completed one of them. So
yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, definitely. Cash in hand is huge. Get the job done as efficiently as possible. Make a profit. Protect that profit by doing it efficiently. Hopefully, as you evolve, you're going to have good standard operating procedures in all your services, so that protects your profit that you got to keep, and that punches into cash flow. Another thing, cash flow-wise, creating a financial plan can help because now you can start budgeting expenditures, start calculating your overhead. In early stages, that can be important to price jobs correctly. You can retain that little bit of profit. As service professionals, we don't make $1 million every week, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. What we do is fairly common. It's very entry level until you are able to niche up and set yourself apart. So early in life and earlier in your career, you're going to be battling with people that are doing it for half of what you do it for. So, don't be afraid to charge more. Don't be afraid to stand behind your procedures, your quality, your expertise, and explain that value to them ahead of time. But you need to capture profit to grow, to put back in the business. And creating a financial plan is going to help you do that. Don't leave money on the table. In other words, when you're pricing work, don't be afraid to throw some add-ons.
It's amazing. Once it's kind of like you want fries with that at McDonald's, it's the same thing where it's like once they've already spent the $5,000 or $8,000 and then, moving that next piece is huge. But, I don't know if you ever had this, Kevin, but, just doing a marketing decision where someone comes in to sell you like, space in a magazine. You have no budget at all, but you just kind of wing it and go with it and end up costing you a ton of money. It's usually some pretty girl
I hate
telling you,
printed ads, man.
yeah, how good of
I
a
hate
business you are and giving you all this
You
fluff.
could
and
be on
making
the
you feel
front
good.
cover. It's
Yeah.
going to be awesome.
Yeah.
$5,000 later.
Yeah. And I had a
Oh
good
my
friend that I
God.
walked into his office and a girl selling him, and it was just funny because she's like, how do you do it? You're amazing. And I just walked in laughing. I'm like, you're buying this, aren't you?
Oh, cool.
It's that appeal to ego. But, if you have a budget and you're planning it out, you could avoid those pitfalls of like just trying things because you don't know how much money you have and you feel cash rich at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So have a process, cash flow issues, cash flow crunch.
Yep.
It occurs from you not being able to receive the money after service is performed. So have a legally binding statement in your quotes. Hey, after job is performed, we will perform walkthrough, yada, yada. We will then collect payment. If payment's not received within X amount of days, this will happen. Yep. If payment's over, tell them when it's considered overdue and what's the repercussions of that. Because if you don't put that up front, they're going to be like, he's just a landscaper, lawn care guy. He's not going to care if I pay him 2 months later.
Yeah.
Screw that. We got to be upfront and honest. We need to get paid because we got expenditures coming this Friday. We got payroll, truck payments, gas. We got to pay the bills. And you need to put that in your quoting, in your sales presentation. Give them that expectation up front. And some people give discounts, Pat. I don't know if you did when you were younger. Hey, if you pay earlier, if you pay by cash, I'll give you a 5% discount. All that's doing is getting you paid quicker.
Yeah.
And you're avoiding credit card fees. So why not give them 5%? I do it all the time, especially when people in my landscaping business, when they're paying or they sign up for a recurring 1-year contract, I give them 5% incentive to pay it up front. Yep. And some people do. They'll pay the whole 5-10 grand, boom, because they want to save 5%, a measly 5%. But it adds up, I guess.
Yeah, it's expectation, and it's our own head trash going in there. But I know in the mosquito control business, everybody pays up front, just about.
Yeah.
And I hate credit card fees. I mean, they're the worst because
they're getting more and more high. They're getting high.
They are. But it is also like, hey, that job is done, and we're going to go ahead and charge you card for the balance. So there's a trade-off in anything you're doing. If you have that credit card on file and the expectation is as soon as the job's done, we're going to go ahead and run it. You just have to have that conversation with the customer right at the beginning.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I wish I would have shored up my contract verbiage. I wish I would have had more add-ons to put forth as I'm doing a gutter cleaning or a tree trimming or a mulching. There's tons of add-ons we as service pros can add to our bottom line and that cash flow. The next I'll talk about, I wish I would have done, was to bring in more reoccurring services. Mm-hmm. So if I'm coming to install a landscape, boom, one and done. There's your plants. There's your mulch. I'm out of here. I wish I would have earlier on noticed the need of service maintenance afterwards. And those maintenance plans are incredible for every week, every month, every quarter, you get that check. You don't have to sell that customer again. They're yours. You're farming them. And it's not a lot of money. Recurring service typically is not, you're not going to retire off of that just by itself, but it's a great cash flow tool to accentuate your one-time big, heavy profit jobs. And so, I wish I would have done a lot more recurring early on
that's rarely what gives your business the value when you go to sell. Like, the plan is to sell these businesses at some point, and if you have no recurring revenue, then the person buying it knows that they have to then go out and drum up new business every time.
Yeah.
If you have $500,000, $1 million, $2 million in recurring revenue, your business is worth so much more. So service contracts, maintenance plans, anything you could do that's getting you back in front of the customer.
Number 4, mushroom management. What do you know about some mushroom management, Pat?
Well, it's funny you say that.
You've
I'm
done
actually
it.
trying to start a truffle farm right now. So I
Oh
hear that.
my God.
That's what I'm thinking about. But yeah, wasting my
God,
time.
you got tons of goats and chickens to throw that shit on it.
Yeah, I got lots of things.
Do you have cows?
No,
Not yet.
I've looked at mini cows, but
God, they're beautiful. I love mini cows and mini horses.
yeah, mini donkeys. They're all cool. But they're expensive. It's like looking at one. It's like 10 grand. I'm like, I don't want to.
Oh my
I was
God,
like,
I
I
looked
need to
for a new.
raise mini cows. But
Yeah. But anyway, mushroom management, keeping people in the dark and feeding them shit.
Yeah.
So a lot of times early in business, as owners, we tend to not share information. We tend to leave our employees out in the dark in regards to our decisions of what we plan to do next week, how we're changing a service, or et cetera. We just tell them the day of, hey, Mickey, guess what? You're riding in truck 20 today. He's like, what? What are you talking about? And so mushroom management is horrible. Business owners are notorious for doing it. You know, mindset change big time. Pivot yourself out of keeping people in the dark.
Yeah. And it's so easy to do because it's a thing we don't care about as much. Like, I don't really care who's driving in which truck. But to that person, like, our people like things. They like training, which I hated training. They like that knowing the day before, the week before, where they're going to be going, what their job's going to be involved in. That's why that communication is so important. Like, we believe in weekly meetings that are every week. You don't miss them.
Right.
But that planning that we're doing, which really can fall as a lower priority for us, but you have to do that. You have to communicate, and I think that's one of the hardest things about scaling is communication. Like, as you get more and more people, the communication skills and systems have to be better to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. So as business owners, set aside the time to talk to your staff, talk to your employees, let them know what you're thinking about doing and your management style, and then get a little bit of feedback from them because their opinion matters, and you're going to use that as ammo to fire a better bullet come time to
Some of my best
that.
ideas have come from the guys, talking to them and saying, why are we not doing this? Like, why don't we carry at least some more inventory so I'm not picking everything up the day of?
Yeah.
Being more efficient, which they shouldn't be reminding us about being efficient, but if you have a good person working for you, that's what they care about. They want to get in and get everything done.
Yeah, and I'll mirror customers as well as employees. They're just as important. Letting them know what to expect in your sales cycle, the job, when's it going to be done, how long does it take? If they're recurring service customers, what are you doing next month? What are you doing for the holidays? Newsletters, CRMs automate messages. There's all kinds of ways you can let them know what's going on. Be proactive with that because customers like being in the know just as employees.
Yeah. And bad news never ages well.
Not really.
No, you got a part that didn't come in, or you can't complete something for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
You wait until the day of, or
call and you cringe to tell them too.
It's the worst when you got it. Nobody likes delivering bad news, but it's like, it's better to rip that Band-Aid off and be like, hey, this sucks. I got some bad news, but I can't do this because of X. We're going to make it right. But so often it's like you just send the guys out and they have to deal with the angry customer because you didn't communicate the bad news. So, make that phone call, be, very proactive on it.
Number 5, having a poor sales experience and a poor customer process. Customers are not, this kind of bleeds in. Customers aren't kept in the loop. They have questions about your service or your job, and different people are giving them different answers. What? Once your job is done, you ghost them.
Yeah.
Pat, you've never done that.
Never. I never have. I've never. I think we could all turn it on for, like, you get that big job you're real excited about and you could deliver this amazing experience. But like doing it consistently in the same the same system, each customer, that gets hard. And so, everybody could go in and do it that one time, but how do you do it consistently day in, day out? So you get that amazing, we always say like the Ritz-Carlton experience where, they are proactively looking for issues. And that's what we're trying to do is we want to solve any issue they're going to have, quell any concerns, de-escalate any situations, and make the experience great. But I can't do it all on my own. I'm going to be running around doing too many things. So you're instilling that into your company and your core values of delivering that experience. It takes standing operating procedures. It takes communication. It takes systems like House Call Pro that can make that a lot easier to deliver on that goal that we have.
Yeah, and I like hitting customers early in the punch. I like hitting them in the gut right away with, wow, you are fast. Wow, that's great information. Wow, wow, wow. You've got to wow your customer, and you got to be quick about it. Don't wait till the damn end because you screwed up on everything else and give them money off because you're trying to save the damn Google review.
Yeah.
Hit them early, and the best way Pat was talking about, you got to have a process for that cycle. From day one, when they call in, who's going to answer? What are you going to say? Do you know how to filter that customer? Because, hey, when we're just like a car dealership, a service business is just like a car dealership. We don't know if they're coming in to buy a Kia, a Hyundai, a Chevy, or a Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth. So you have to have filtering questions. You have to have value-building vocabulary. We'll talk about that sometime because we're elevating our game, guys. Don't consider yourself a lawnmower guy. You're a landscape pro professional, and you have to build all that value. You're a lighting professional. You're not a lighting installer. You're a lighting designer. So every trade has to elevate their thinking and their vocabulary because that builds value. That wows customers. So hit them early with a process.
And I'll say the exact opposite. We always hit them late as well. So we do the thank you card, a box of chocolates, and everybody likes chocolates except me. I think the chocolate's disgusting. But I send a box of chocolates with a thank you card to every customer. And it's like, It's amazing that the response that people get, because about a week goes by and then it comes in the mail. But it's that little thing, a handwritten thank you card goes such a long way. And we'll hear someone say, I spent $4,000 on lights from you, got a thank you card, and my pool builder spent $500,000, and they left the job. And once the taillights were gone, we never heard from them again.
That's right. And the grass will not always stay green. That pool builder may be swimming in dough right now, but tomorrow, what happens when that pool dries up? That pool of cash is gone. He hits bad times. He gets a stroke. He gets cancer. She gets into a car wreck. That business owner is impaired to make the vital decisions. They don't start getting work again. What happens then? So we have to have process procedures to build ourselves out of the equation to being in that day-to-day. Yeah. And having that great sales cycle will help prevent issues. And what Pat does, chocolates, thank you cards, a follow-up, anything is excellent. And that's great to butter them up for that Google review you needed. That's great for referral rewards or referrals that you want to ask them for. But another thing, have that cost into your quoting. I ain't going to give, we give people all kinds of stuff, coffee mugs, services, clothing, monogram coolers. We do beach bags, all kinds of stuff. I've got that cost figured into my bids. Mm-hmm. You can't do that when you're just starting out, but as you evolve into that niche provider, you're putting swag in that bag, baby, because that's another thing to set you apart. What sets Pat apart? Like he said, he's throwing that little love boomerang at him. He wants that back in future work. If they see a beach bag, they're out at Wrightsville Beach or Virginia Beach, and they're cruising in your monogram bag, and they look down at it. Man, I got to call Sterling Lighting. I'm going to order something from them. I remember they were really good to me.
Yep.
Bam.
And when they're adding things on and things happen, the landscape changes, they're calling us because we delivered a great experience. One of my friends I was just talking to this week, he adds 3 years worth of maintenance and service calls into every proposal.
Wow.
And so he just tells his customers like, hey, for 3 years, you're not going to pay me anything.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Now, he does have some stipulations like, hey, if you want something next day and I got to drop everything to come to you, there's a charge for that. But if it's just regular on the schedule, 3 years, no service. So he's going out 2 years later and taking care of it, but they've already prepaid it up at the beginning in the proposal.
All right. And so the next thing to touch on in that sales process is act quickly. Most of the times we're not a necessity in someone's life to have done. My lawn can grow long for another week or a month. My fence doesn't need power washing or staining or building. I don't need to get that tree taken down. I don't need to add 20 lights to my backyard. So we are, what do they call that, a luxury item. We're a want, not a need. So act quickly. It's an emotional buy. Be quick, Johnny on the spot with your process. Now, that doesn't mean drop everything, go to the person's house right away. We're not saying that. We're saying keep them, act quick. Like, I'll give you for instance, when someone enters their information on our website, they automatically get an automated email back. Boom. That's within 5 minutes, they're getting a response. I didn't have to do it. It's all automated in software. Build in automations to keep people on their toes. You know how many lawn guys or service guys in general, how many people are going to get a call back within an hour or some kind of response? Very few out there may get a response. How long is it going to take to get the estimate back to them? How fortified is your systems to quote quick like this?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. I see so often that it could take a week or 2 weeks, or they just forget to send the proposal out. So you did all this work to get a customer and you don't deliver a proposal right away. And if I'm a competitor, that's the easiest thing. Is like, if they're this slow to get the money, how slow are they going to be on the service side of things? Like when the money's not coming in. So, we want to turn a proposal out same day, every day. That's a challenge, but that's what we want to do. Is like, we want it on the spot, make it easy, make it simple, make it easy for quoting. House Call Pro, CRMs like that can really streamline that process. So
quote it right there on the spot. Have that iPad. They can sign the quote right there. Boom, take the down payment.
You talked about the luxury side of things. Most people just don't like making decisions. They're afraid of making the wrong decision. So, part of the process has to be to make the sales process easy. So like, we're so worried about being pushy and obnoxious or calling too much. So when I'm talking to customers, I want to be delivering something every time I talk to them. I want to say, hey, I had an idea. I wanted to say to you an article. I was just thinking about you. I was over at your neighbors. Like, a reason why I'm reaching out to them, but I want that decision to be as easy as possible and the process to be easy, because it's hard. It's like you're parting with money that you work really hard for. You're not sure if you're making the right decision. So we want to continually assure them that we're the right one to go with.
Yeah, and look at who your customers are. They're not backyard barbecue, got to chew in, hadn't cut my hair in 2 years. That's me. Your customers are high tech, driving Teslas, driving Mercedes, have these killer modern homes now with automations inside that the damn shutters close by themselves. And oh my God. That's your customer that you want to get, right? That's your ideal customer. So start elevating your vocabulary and your sales process, all cater to them and their needs. They don't want a phone call. They want an automated text.
Yep.
Don't stop them in their work. Make it so they don't have to do anything but rely on your expertise and your process. But I will tell you, when my sales process, especially with the lighting, when I can tell them how we engineer the systems based on voltage drop, based on amps, volt amps, how we choose which fixtures we choose and why, and what why are we doing this and what it matters to them. They get a kick out of it, especially techie people.
Yeah.
They love that thinking that we do. And if you have that in your forefront and in your vocabulary, that's going to help win the sale, win their, not necessarily win the sale, but win them over as far as, wow, I love how strategic and process-oriented you are, because so am I.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the one tool that COVID made really abundant is Zoom. And the average contractor isn't on Zoom much, but we go to every customer's house and they're like, hold on, I'm on a Zoom call right now. Let me get with you in 15 minutes. And that's a tool to, rather than calling them or rather than like, hey, let me stop by and take time out of your day again to review it. It's like, hey, you got 5 minutes to jump on a Zoom call, and that call could go on for an hour, but that's a tool that we should be using because our customers are on that platform every day. And so
Exactamundo.
Easy.
Great, Patrick. And another thing too, if you can't deliver the quote in person, say they're busy, you're busy, record a video on your computer and email it to them.
Yep.
Boom. You can show your quote on the screen. You can go line by line with it.
Yep.
Just talk about it and then throw in some more sales value ability there. If you can't do it in person.
In person.
that personalization helps.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people, and I've been guilty of it. It's like, hey, I'll email you over a quote and then just, we'll see if they get back to us or not. And a terrible, terrible process. So it's like, or even the front door proposal. Like, we need to be comfortable enough to go sit down on the kitchen table and go through the sales process with them.
Or you just use your iPad, but it helps to have a really good sales process. Usually you may think that, I'm just going to give them one price and they take it or leave it. Try to have some options there. It helps to have one or two more options available that's less expensive, or you may even want to throw the kitchen sink at them because you never know. They may go for it, and you've got a higher profit avenue to take there. Don't be afraid to throw in some reoccurring service like lighting, Pat. When you give them a quote for a new system, why not give them a quote also for that reoccurring maintenance plan afterwards? That's with any type of trade. Give them some kind of reoccurring service option up front and tell them about it in your sales process. Why? Why do you need maintenance outside? Well, hell, what outside doesn't get dirty, doesn't get water intrusion, doesn't get ant mounds all over it, doesn't get knocked over by kids' balls, doesn't get shat on by the dog or dug up by the dog. Outside stuff, you have to take care of it more than inside stuff. It's just a fact.
Oh yeah, it's in a terrible environment. It gets kicked, it gets, beaten up, weed whacked, everything else. So, you need to have those maintenance plans to keep things looking beautiful.
How often do people wash their Mercedes?
A lot.
A lot.
Especially a black one. I made that
how
mistake.
much
You
it
get a black
costs to
truck.
get?
Yeah.
Do you know how much it costs to detail a Mercedes?
I don't even.
It's $250.
Yeah.
We used to have Mercedes. The guy would come with a fossil thing in his hand, and our dogs, of course, he would pick out the hairs out of the carpet with this fossil rock, and it would take out the fine hairs. Are you kidding me? You can't use a vacuum. He's using a rock.
Yeah.
But people spend tons of money on their prized possessions. They need to understand what you're doing adds value to their homes. It is a prized possession. It's theirs.
Yeah.
It needs maintenance. So
landscaping needs maintenance. You're putting trees in, they need to be pruned eventually. Lighting definitely needs maintenance. You can't just put in a lighting project and disappear.
Driveways need clean. The house needs power washing. We need to restain every so-and-so years. You need new poly sand in the hardscape edges for your patios. It's endless. Drainage. Once you throw in drainage, that stuff gets clogged. Pat, we were so proactive in landscaping. We threw in maintenance plans for drainage. And people will select it, especially HOAs, because they don't want any issues of dumping water onto a neighbor and them suing them.
Yeah.
So we had drainage. We subcontracted big drainage outfits to come do drainage around their pool or tennis court, and then we would do the maintenance afterwards. So
yeah,
it's awesome.
Key. It's the elevated customer experience that we want to deliver. Is, we're not just going to put it in and disappear. Exactly. But that's where you get all the extra revenue. Like, it's so easy to add on once you've built that trust.
All right, and this leads us into 4-letter words. What you got for a 4-letter word, Patty?
I'll say hire, H-I-R-E. And, I think we make mistakes when we get really busy. Is we just hire whoever could fog some glass and bring them into the company. It's like one of your employees, like, his girlfriend's brother, some guy that comes in who's just a loser. But we need people, and we haven't planned it out. We don't have a process. So
such a loser already. He's not going to work.
Yeah.
How about those? Yeah. How about the time you just hire people because they're alive, and you come in day one, the first time you lay your eyes on him, you're like, oh my God, he's going to last 2 days.
Yeah. Come in, like, does it smell like whiskey in here? What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Are we drinking in the morning? That's probably a good sign.
Oh my God, the horror stories of hiring just anybody that comes through the door or answers your call. Oh my gosh.
We're all going to make mistakes on hiring, but especially when you're small and you're overwhelmed and things are crazy, it's May and you just got to get things in, and you just bring somebody in, and they make you go back and redo everything that they did. So it's like, be really careful on who you're bringing in. I'd rather go a little slower and have the right people on and build the right morale and the right team than to hire, this recommendation of, someone who walked in off the street, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's just as you're trying to filter your clients out, you don't know if they're shopping for a used car or a brand new Mercedes. Mm-hmm. Kind of the same thing applies for employees. You don't want to bring bad apples, destroyers into your organization. Mm-hmm. So who are those people? You want to weed those people out. You want good people, trainable people, people that are willing to adapt and change, people who are tech savvy, which that's not hard to find today. Used to be. What's a cell phone? God, we used to have old timers come in. They didn't even have a damn phone. Yeah. Or the phone they did have was 20 years old.
Yeah, Nextel.
It's like, really? Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So filtering employees out and having,
I was going to say, you'll ruin, your good people will leave if you allow bad people to be there. And you'll just be shocked when your top head crew guys, like, I am sick of working with these guys, and they'll just go somewhere else. So you have to protect your company. And like, your number one thing is, who are you actually allowing to be part of the family?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So have a process, an onboarding process, a filtering process to hire properly. Again, as business owners, we have to take the time to dedicate to interviewing these people, because they're going to be integral parts in your organization. They're going to help you grow and scale and make the moolah. So just running in, man, sorry, I'm late. I've only got about a minute, man, before I got to go back out. That's not going to impress an employee.
Yeah.
But if you can have a wonderful, welcoming environment, hey, sit down. Do you want anything to drink? We got these snacks. So glad you're here. Make them feel special. Yep. And if you do that, they're going to be more open and tell you their faults and where they're not good at and stuff like that as well. So it helps you get a better read on people. But just have a process and devote the time to spend with them during those interview phases. And you can do it on Zoom.
Yeah. I think one of the things, a game changer for us, was the book Who. And the simple thing to get out of it is ask the potential interviewee, and if one of the 5 they've been fired or didn't get promoted up, that's a red flag. If they have 2, you don't bring them on, and you're looking for people that have been promoted. But if they've been at 5 jobs in 5 years, and each one of them they got in a fight with the boss, and you're like, I think this is going to be a train wreck because everywhere you've gone has been a train wreck. So you're just looking for those red flags, and it's just easy. Like, let's walk through your last 5 jobs. Who is your previous, employer? Let's get his name, his phone number. I'm going to give him a call. Even if you don't call them, just so they think that you're going to call them, and you should call them. But even if they think they're going to, they'll start telling you pretty openly what happened in their last job experiences, and just look for those red flags of fighting with the boss, or getting fired, not showing up on time, and that'll save you a lot of time and frustration.
Yeah, and I always used to like to ask potential employees, what are you going to do to elevate a company to the next level? What are you going to bring to the table to help elevate our company to reach the next level? And they're like, what? I just came here to cut grass and throw some fertilizer. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, it's like, dude, are you on this plane or ship or what? Because we're not just hanging out in a frog pond here. We're trying to go to a blue ocean. And you have to explain that, and those are the people you want, people that are willing to take chances, take risks, those are the people that are going to put in the extra work and not want to get paid necessarily for it, because they know you're going places. They know there's a good chance of promotion and expansion.
Yeah. You want someone who takes pride in what they do. They take responsibility, and they're actually looking for problems to solve problems. And, as I always say, like, your number one job is to make my job and my life a little bit easier, because I'm paying you. That's what I want. I want you to, think of what I'm doing, and I want to try and communicate and work with you. But, it's not just to come in and put in time.
So we hope this helps you guys understand 5 of the most terrifying at times things to avoid early on as business owners. Hope you learned something there. This wraps up this episode. Make sure you subscribe to Outdoorsy Entrepreneur YouTube channel and hit those notifications, and listen to wherever you get your podcast, and follow us on the social media platforms at Outdoorsy Boss. Level up your professionalism, reduce stress and workload for your business. Check out House Call Pro, and Outdoorsy viewers receive a special discount. Check out the link in the description below. Big thanks to all the Outdoorsy small business owners out there whom are leveling up the home service industry. We and others pivot from just being a lawnmower guy to being a landscape contractor. We want to be a tree cutter and evolve into a certified arborist. The end goal is to elevate ourselves into a niche and build a business that can function without us. It's a mindset change, and it may seem daunting, but lucky you, we have created an easy-to-follow step-by-step learning platform and community of like-minded service owners. It's called the Outdoorsy Entrepreneur Masterclass, and it's launching this summer. So check out and be notified at outdoorsyentrepreneur.com. And just as Aerosmith wanted, and you don't want to miss a thing, refuel with us every Wednesday. Make it a great day, guys.
All aboard!